A man finds himself on the floor, covered in human juice. Slowly, he gets up, realizing his hands are drenched in it, and he is holding a gun. Ferris crawls to his bedroom door and opens it. Inside, he hears his wife making slow, repetitive noises, so he steps further into the room to see her. But the sight freezes him in place. His wife is hugging a pillow tightly, getting intimate with it. To make things even stranger, the pillow moves as if it is alive. Ferris takes a closer look and realizes this isn't an ordinary pillow, it is a monstrous creature resembling a ghost, and it has taken over his wife, Ratna. But how did Ratna end up letting a ghost smash? Let's see. A few days earlier, Ratna is preparing to welcome her husband Ferris as he returns from months of military service. Their son Booty is excited to see his father, and they head near the sea to greet him. But this is no happy reunion. Ratna plans to divorce Ferris as soon as possible. After finishing her preparations, she takes her car from the parking lot and leaves. At the naval base, Booty runs to his father and hugs him. It has been a while since they last met, and he has missed him, but Ratna, on the other hand, stands alone. Ferris's boss then greets her and hands Ferris a bonus so he can take his family to the movies and enjoy some quality time together. Later, the family heads to the cinema and starts watching a movie. Ferris wants to do what all lovers do in cinemas, but Ratna isn't interested and stops him. Then she shocks him with the revelation that she wants a divorce. Ferris can't believe what he just heard, so he takes the family back home. That night, Ferris meets their neighbor Tony, who tells him that Ratna used to go out late at night while he was away in the Navy. Later, Ferris confronts her about what he heard, but she denies the accusation, saying Tony is not a stable person. The conversation turns into an argument, disturbing poor Booty, who just wants to see his family at peace. Ratna wants to leave tonight, but Ferris convinces her to stay because he just got home and has needs. She agrees and they go to bed. Soon, Ferris tries to be romantic with her, but she remains unmoved, holding her pillow close. Eventually, she gets tired of his nagging and tells him she is on her monthly female duty, which means they can't get intimate tonight. Later that night, Ferris heads to the bathroom and checks the bin, realizing that Ratna is lying. He confronts her, demanding proof and accusing her of deceiving him. This leads to another loud argument, and Ferris decides he will find out who made her want a divorce because, to him, there is no reason for it. After he storms out, Ratna begins to cry and repeatedly smashes her head against the table. Booty, who has heard everything from his bedroom, comes out and hugs his mother to comfort her. In the morning, Ferris wakes up and realizes Ratna is missing. Shortly after, Ratna's assistant arrives to pick up Booty for school. Mita tells Ferris that Ratna has rented a hotel room in the city to help her concentrate while writing, but she also stresses that Ratna's boss, Wahyu, visits her there very often. Despite knowing that Ferris is married to Ratna, Mita constantly tries to fool around with him, but he keeps ignoring her advances. Later, Tony visits Ferris and tells him he is worried about Ratna because he believes a dark force or ghost is following her. He warns him that a local spirit known as Pokong might be after her. Ferris doesn't believe in such things and asks Tony to leave. But before going, Tony hands him a book that explains more about the spirit. Next, Ferris calls Wahyu to ask about Ratna's whereabouts, but Wahyu tells him not to disturb her because she is very inspired at the moment. Restless, Ferris goes through Ratna's personal items and finds pictures of her with Wahyu. Furious, he tracks down Wahyu and meets him at a nightclub. There, Wahyu tells him that he was the one who was there for Ratna while Ferris was gone, and everything is written in Ratna's new novel. Ferris is angry but stays composed. However, he assigns a man named Herman to keep an eye on Wahyu. That night, Mita returns Booty home and tries to get intimate with Ferris. She almost succeeds, but Booty interrupts them. Later, while Ferris is giving Booty a bath, Booty tells him that his mother always acts weird and spends a lot of time in the bathroom. Just then, Booty begins to see bloody footsteps on the roof and hides in the bathtub. At that moment, Ratna arrives. Ferris goes to talk to Ratna and they begin to argue. Just then, footsteps echo in the kitchen, the lights flicker, and the room starts shaking. Ratna vanishes for a moment and Ferris lights a candle as darkness fills the room. He searches for her but can only hear strange sounds. When he finally finds her, she is acting as if she is getting intimate with someone, but no one is there. He stops her from her bizarre actions, but she screams uncontrollably before collapsing unconscious. Next, Ferris carries her to the bedroom and lets her rest with the pillow on her body. But when he looks in the mirror, he briefly sees the Pokong demon inside the pillow, shocking him. A few hours later, they are both asleep, but Ratna begins making noises as she gets intimate with the possessed pillow. Ferris wakes up from the sound and immediately throws the pillow outside. Just then, he gets a call from Herman, who tells him there is nothing suspicious about Wahyu. After that, Ferris hears a noise and realizes Ratna is missing. He checks all the rooms but can't find her, so he leaves. He then goes to Herman, who is monitoring Wahyu. After getting Wahyu's hotel room number, he heads to the hotel and enters the elevator. There, he is joined by a mysterious woman who keeps whispering, "It's coming." Ferris then arrives at Wahyu's room, where Wahyu is reading the novel Ratna wrote. Without hesitation, Ferris beats him up, demanding to know where Ratna is until Wahyu loses consciousness. Just then, bloody footsteps return to the house and Booty hides in fear. Faris leaves the hotel and rushes back home where he finds a terrified Booty. Booty tells him that Ratna is in the bathroom and Faris hurries there. Inside, he finds Ratna unconscious and injured, with the cursed pillow lying on top of her. Next, Faris carefully helps her to bed and then sleeps with Booty, who is shaken after seeing his mother like that. A few hours later, Ratna dresses in a beautiful red dress and walks outside into the rain. She gets into a taxi, but the driver, noticing she is alone, tries to harass her. Just then, the Pokong demon appears in the car and repeatedly smashes the driver's head against the window. Ratna then dances in the rain as her demon lover brutally kills the taxi driver. Next, Ratna enters the hotel where Herman is watching her and decides to follow. Sensing someone behind her, she runs into her room. Meanwhile, Herman takes out his camera, determined to record everything and report it to Faris. Herman enters the room and tells Ratna that the hotel management sent him to inspect it. But after looking around, he becomes captivated by her beauty and confesses that Faris sent him, though she already knows. Just then, he hears a noise from the bathroom and goes to check it out. But as soon as he steps inside, the Pokong demon attacks him and he tries to escape. However, Ratna moves quickly and stabs him in the eyes before he can leave. She then throws him onto the bed and repeatedly stabs him until he dies. Afterward, she drags his body away. Meanwhile, Faris sees bloody footsteps on the roof of his house and finally accepts that a demon is truly involved with Ratna. Desperate for answers, he goes to Tony, who tells him that someone jealous of his family might have cast a spell to keep Ratna away from him. Tony then gives him instructions on how to prepare for an exorcism, believing his spells always work. As Faris prepares, he finds an old tape among Ratna's belongings and decides to play it. The footage shows Wahyu rejecting Ratna's manuscript, saying it is too boring to be published. Feeling discouraged, Ratna is then approached by Mita, who offers to help her. Mita tells Ratna that if she lets her spend one evening with Faris, she will give her something that will bring excitement to her life, which will ultimately help her write better. She even promises that the experience is not from a human, but Ratna refuses and leaves. After watching the clip, Faris realizes that Mita is involved in all of this. Next, he calls Herman, but Herman doesn't pick up. Alarmed, he rushes to the hotel. Meanwhile, Wahyu is in the hotel room with Ratna, pressuring her to finish her novel quickly, but before he realizes it, the Pokong demon attacks him, and Ratna swiftly slices his throat. Wahyu stumbles backward a few steps before falling out of the room and crashing to Faris's car, dying instantly. Faris happens to be outside and is shocked to see Wahyu's lifeless body on his car. Without hesitation, he grabs his gun and enters the elevator. Inside, he once again encounters the mysterious woman who whispers, "The king of lustful desires is coming." But before he can ask her anything, she vanishes. Next, Faris finds Ratna in the hotel room, covered in blood alongside the cursed pillow. Without hesitation, he grabs her and takes her home, believing now that none of this is her fault. He bathes her, changes her into clean clothes, and cares for her, reassuring her that everything is over. But little does she know, he is only following Tony's instructions. Suddenly, Ratna snaps and runs to the kitchen, grabbing a knife and pointing it at him. He tries to calm her down, but when she sees he is not afraid, she presses the knife against her own neck. She then slices herself slightly before collapsing unconscious. Faris rushes to Tony and tells him that Ratna is ready for the exorcism. Together, they return to the bedroom, where Faris has tied Ratna to the bed and lit candles around the room for the ritual. Tony begins the exorcism, but Ratna suddenly floats in midair, claiming that no demon exists within her. As the ritual continues, Mita arrives at the house with Booty. But Faris immediately sends Booty to his room and forces Mita to stay, believing she is responsible for everything. He tells her that if she promises to leave his family alone, he will give her what she wants. He then begins to kiss her, but before things escalate, the Pokong demon suddenly enters Mita's body and possesses her. She then attacks Faris before running outside, where the demon forces her to dance in a disturbingly unnatural way. Meanwhile, Tony takes advantage of the distraction and tries to get intimate with Ratna, having always craved her. But before he can do anything, Faris arrives just in time to stop him, and the two men begin to fight. In the midst of the struggle, Faris turns around and realizes that Ratna has disappeared. Suddenly, the Pokong demon possesses Tony. Faris fights Tony and ultimately kills him by smashing his head repeatedly against the wall. He then rushes to retrieve Booty from his room, but the child is terrified after hearing so much violence. Just then, the Pokong demon attacks Faris and knocks him unconscious. After a while, he wakes up and stumbles into the bedroom, only to witness the shocking scene we saw at the beginning. The Pokong demon is getting intimate with Ratna, and Faris stands there completely helpless. The scene then shifts to a theater, where Ratna is performing on stage. All of her past victims sit in the audience watching her, while Faris is tied up in the center. As she finishes her performance, she slowly walks toward him and points a gun at him. She tells him that he and his thoughts are the real demons, then she pulls the trigger. Can you tell why Ratna tells that his thoughts are real demons? Comment down below. Anyway, the movie ends here. I know you enjoyed this video. If yes, please like the video and subscribe the Explanation Pro for Become a Pro Movie Lover.